this is just the shadow of being a manifester, is that everybody has made us smaller our whole lives. Everybody has rounded us out. Everybody has tried to morph us into somebody else because we just don't fit, and because we trigger the fuck out of most people. A small percentage of people we activate, and the rest of the people we just trigger. And so, you know, it made sense. It made sense. And on the journey, I just learned to hold more of myself, because ultimately everything that I had been through in the past was like letting go of pieces of myself, letting go of my desires, letting go of my identity, letting go of my, literally my sovereignty over and over and over again. And the journey as a manifester has been to reclaim all of those versions of me.
You started your business with one goal: to be of service while pursuing the calling of your soul and life purpose. But what you didn't realize at the time, when you accepted the invitation, the entire trajectory of your life would change. Soon you start questioning yourself, rather than just giving yourself full permission to do whatever the fuck you want and to make a shit ton of money. You start moving from a space of fear rather than playing full out. You start wobbling whenever a challenge arises. And you start asking yourself, when did it all become about everyone else? Where did all the fun go? How did everything get to be so fucking serious all the time? Days of questioning yourself are over. Audacious leadership is in now. It is time to step into the boldest, the most courageous, the most powerful, audacious version of you, while working with dreamy as fuck soul clients, charging the prices you want to charge, feeling confident AF in who you are, speaking your ultimate truth with absolute tenacious conviction, and becoming wildly rich AF. You are ready for your comeback. You are ready to shift gears. You are ready to lead in a way that you have never done before. You are ready to become the most magnificent, the most magnetic version of yourself, so that you easily attract every single thing you want when you want it. You are ready to be seen and stand out as a sought-after leader in your zone of genius and industry of one, because that's what you are. You are going to shine like the beacon of light that you are, so that you magically attract those dreamy AF clients again and again and again, and get paid a fuck ton of money. It's time to join Audacity. Audacity is a high proximity, 6-month mastermind that will ignite the fire that leads you into your most bold, most audacious and fulfilled, dripping in money, high octane leadership era to join the waitlist for Audacity. The link is down below in the show notes. We start in August.
So I was woken up at 3:30 this morning by this bitch, right? Honestly, she is bringing the heat already. This is the first time we're meeting, well, in this lifetime, but we have, I'm sure, in many other lifetimes, and we kind of connected over Instagram. We're both splenic manifestors with a shit ton of fire that are bringing the truth to your ears and to your hearts. And one of the things that was coming through at 3:30 this morning was something along the lines of, the biggest fucking mistake that you're making in your business is taking action based on other people's opinions and what works for them. And I think this is a really good place to start. Welcome, Angharad Sage. Let's dive in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of us have lived our lives like that, right? So then when we start a business, why wouldn't we copy and paste that, right? And so we can find ourselves in an absolute fuckery of a situation because we just copied and pasted the same shadows into a different place. It's like one of the, what's that saying? Like, new level, same devil, or like, the grass isn't greener. Like, you actually have to change on the journey. Otherwise, you just copy and replicate the exact same thing in a different precipitation.
Tell me more about this, because I think that this goes a lot deeper, because I know that you are the queen of human design. Like, you're a human design expert, and everybody knows you as your galactic guide. And you're also, like, you've built a business to 8 figures and beyond, I should imagine, by now. So tell me more about why this is really fucking important for people to know.
Well, for me, at least, it's because I don't want to live a life that I don't actually fucking enjoy. I have built businesses before this. So I've been an entrepreneur since I was 21. I started my first business, and with my husband, and have done multiple. And I was never happy. I was always so fucking angry. I was so furious with who I was and how pressured I was, and how I was pressured into being a version of me that I didn't even know who the fuck I was until I found human design. Like, it really helped me. It also was at the beginning of my Saturn return as well. So, it was a great portal of change, but I literally just felt lost. I didn't even know who the fuck, like, when I look back at who I was then, I was like 1% of who I am now, like in every single way. And on the journey, I guess we get to find ourselves. And I just happen to be the Capricorn bitch who loves to make it work with business because that's just my passion. And why wouldn't you do both at the same time? And so I think it takes a lot of radical self-honesty for us to grow a business at the same time as growing ourselves, because it can be very easy to just tap into the financial success, which is not a bad thing. Everyone has their own version and their own journey in this lifetime. But for me personally, I wanted so much deeper. Like I had felt so deep from such a young age in my childhood with so much that happened, and being spiritually gifted, born like that, and my father was my guide and he was very spiritually gifted, that there was just no way that I wanted to continue living as a shell of myself compared to what I felt inside was actually possible for me to live.
I love that. And I am also loving the fact that you're so grounded. Like it must be the Capricorn energy as well. So grounded in everything that you're sharing. Like everything is so embodied. I'm saying this because I can feel it and I can sense it from you. And I think when we kind of come into the online space and create businesses, especially in the spiritual community, there can be a lot of flightiness and a lot of like not in the body and thinking that we have to copy other people to get like be on the same level as them. And we do completely miss the whole point of a soul-led business, is to be in the soul and to be in the body and to do the things your way versus doing it everybody else's way. And as you said, like really connecting with the truth of who you are. Like if you know who you were and if you always known who you were, even from your child, there's no fucking way it was going to work any other way anyway. And I'm the same. Like it took me a while to get here. I'm a late bloomer, but I'm here. I've landed fully, like completely descended. It's just like, okay, let's fucking go now. And it's beautiful that you do this. So, and human design is such a huge part of this. And I think that for me as well, learning that I was a manifestor changed things for me almost instantly. Tell me more about how it changed things for you.
It was a massive initiation and one that I was not ready for, to be honest. But I obviously was, but I thought I wasn't. So I actually heard about the 5 different design types on a podcast, and I was driving my car, and I remember the exact moment. I remember the corner I was on. I was driving back to the farm. I was, I remember exactly where I was, and I heard the 5 different types, and I was like, oh, manifestor would be cool. There's no fucking way that would be me. I was like, I must be a generator, probably. Like, I was like, I'll just pick the most basic one, or the one that felt the most basic to me, right? I'm sorry, I love generators.
Yeah.
But to me, like that felt safe, like that felt safe, that there are so many of them in the world and that they can easily get like shadowed out because there's just so many of them, right? Like that's who I thought I was. And then I went home and pulled my chart, and I was like, there must be some mistake. There is no way that I'm ready for this anointing. But immediately my human began to upgrade, because I had this inner trust of like, I wouldn't have this knowledge. Human design wouldn't have come to me. I would not have found human design if I wasn't meant to find it. Like I knew that on the inside for fucking sure. And so when I read more about it and when I dive deeper into it, I was like, oh, this is just the shadow of being a manifester, is that everybody has made us smaller our whole lives. Everybody has rounded us out. Everybody has tried to morph us into somebody else because we just don't fit, and because we trigger the fuck out of most people. A small percentage of people we activate, and the rest of the people we just trigger. And so, it made sense. It made sense. And on the journey, I just learned to hold more of myself, because ultimately everything that I had been through in the past was like letting go of pieces of myself, letting go of my desires, letting go of my identity, letting go of literally my sovereignty over and over and over again. And the journey as a manifester has been to reclaim all of those versions of me.
I relate so much. It's so beautiful. It's almost like trying to fit a round peg in a square hole. That's how it feels, being a manifestor and not quite fitting absolutely. And then noticing that actually other people are a little bit kind of bothered, and sometimes you don't even need to open your mouth and they're looking at sideways, giving you side eye. Like, what the fuck is going on? Oh.
Exactly.
How is being a manifester, how has it helped you to create such an incredible business? And how does it help you to serve your clients? Because I know that you work with human design with your clients. So being a manifester specifically, what does that bring to the table?
I think without my Capricorn, it would be a very different experience being a manifester because when I say this, I'm not trying to limit anyone else who doesn't have the placements that I do, right? It's just my truth and my expression and my strengths. But without the Capricorn, I don't know if I would have had the drive, or at least maybe it wouldn't have happened so quickly. I have a lot of drive to do something. I have a lot of commitment. Like I'm a very deeply committed human being and I will work everything out. Like I will always figure it out. There's this saying that I came across that everything is figure outable. And I was like, that's fucking me. I will figure it the fuck out. Like when I eventually decided that I wanted to start a food blog, which was after I found human design, or I decided I was going to do it. I had wanted to do a food blog for like a decade, but I was too afraid. I was like, everyone, who am I to post my photos of my shit? No one's going to give a shit. Everyone's going to judge me for it. I hated any kind of spotlight, like any kind of spotlight at all. And so with the manifestor side to me, when I heard that we can create very rapidly, I was like, oh yes, bitch. I mean, I already kind of see that. But what I saw in the field was the potentiality that I would do it and I would find myself even more. That I would do it and I would honor myself every single day with it. That I would do it and I would impact people simply through me being me, not because I tried to help somebody, not because I was always reading the room and seeing what everybody else needed. And I have an undefined solar plexus. So I was always feeling, I'd walk into the room and be like, oh, that person needs this and that person needs that. So I was serving everyone else, but not myself. And so it just like all of my guides came online even stronger than I'd ever received before. And it just created this perfect storm for me to find myself and to create a business and a life and an impact all at the same time. And that would be literally my best advice for any manifester is we have to do what works for us because we're the only design type who's not meant to respond. So if you're looking outside of you and researching what niche is needed and what holes can I fill and all this kind of shit that's a truth. Like I would say that's already an alarm bell for a manifester because you are meant to be so fucking sovereign that it doesn't even matter what anybody else thinks or whether anybody else follows along. Like if I made $0 tomorrow forevermore, I would still do what I do because it's not about serving other people. It's about serving myself and letting other people see it. I'm inviting the world to see my evolution and to see the activation and for them to just gain the wisdom through being in my energy. And so I just learned to honor that, like purely and simply, everything is just about that.
So much richness here in what you've just said. I too have an undefined solar plexus and I completely resonate, like walking in the room and instantly knowing how to serve every single person that's in that room, whether it's 10 or 100 people, knowing without a doubt, I know what you need. I know what you need. I know what you need. And it's about harnessing and bringing that back into center because that's our power as well. And we don't necessarily have to give it away like all the time. And just being like commanding the space, commanding the body, commanding your boundaries and honoring that and allowing yourself to serve from that space and blazing the trails from that space. And being the person that goes first, zigging when everybody else is zagging, doing whatever the fuck you want. I love this. And this is definitely a journey that I've learned as well. Recovering, I don't even like to use the word recovering people pleaser. It's just like, no, I've just decided I'm no longer a fucking people pleaser. I don't need to recover. But this is one of the shadow aspects of being a manifestor, right? Is that we love to people please. We love to serve others before ourselves because that's what we think we have to do. We think that we have to respond because we have so much generated conditioning to move through.
And like underneath that layer is the need to be loved and accepted.
Yeah.
So as a manifestor, when we accept the fact that no one's ever going to accept us, literally no one, you will never accept me. I will never accept you. My husband will never fully accept me. My children, nobody on this planet will ever love every single version of me. That was so fucking freeing. That was so fucking freeing. And from there, I was like, this person will love this part, and this person will love this part, and this person will love 1,000 parts. And I heard this analogy about a manifestor, and that is that we are a high-speed train and we're heading to a destination, and we make specific stops, and people will choose to get on and they'll choose to get off. Some people choose to get on at the very beginning and will stay to the very end. Very few. Some people will get on halfway and stay on for a stop and be like, absolutely not, get me off at the next fucking stop. I am never getting back on this train. And some people stay on for half the journey and they'll hop off for a few stops and then get back on all the way to the end. And as a manifestor, we have to be prepared to let people go and to validate ourselves so much that we don't need anything from anybody else in order for us to feel love and acceptance.
I love that. That's amazing. And I've just learned something. And actually, it's almost like that a part of me just went, aha, I needed to hear this today. It's that acceptance of knowing that nobody's ever going to accept us for who we are, all of us, every single iteration. Thank you for that. That's just like, yes, now I'm free. Now I can get on with it. Because that's freeing in and
Exactly. And, you know, the manifestors used to be the kings. There used to be a lot more manifestors around in the king and queen era, and they were the kings and queens, right? Not everybody loves a king or queen. In fact, probably very few do. And that to me really resonated, like the royalty lineage of my soul and the expression of how it has happened, the impression on this earth. And I always resonated with that, which is the reason why I say high queen, because it's like my language. And yeah, we accept ourselves deeper and deeper and deeper every single time we let things go that are stopping us from playing big. Because as a manifestor, our aura is, I was sharing this with a private client recently, our aura is also a manifestor. Our aura as a manifestor is meant to take up so much space in a room that everybody will notice. But beyond that, it's meant to take up so much space. It's meant to go past our house and past our city and past our country and past like right around the world. And then it goes out to multiple dimensions. Like that's how big it's meant to be. And here we are conditioned to be tiny, tiny little generators who people please and who follow the rules and who everyone needs to love and accept. And we get very small and we get very quiet and we do everything to accept love. And we're meant to be the complete fucking opposite to that. So the journey of a manifestor will always look like our energy expanding further and further and further and further.
The quicker that you can accept that as a manifestor, the better off you're going to be, like financially, successfully,
Yeah.
you know, in love, in business, in life, all of the things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I resonate with that so much. So tell me more about the multidimensionality, not just of manifestors, because I really want to dive into the galactic guide aspect of you, because you are not just a manifestor, okay? That's just one aspect. And you are so much more than that. Queen.
Yeah. Thank you. So I knew I was spiritually gifted from very young, and like I was playing with the fairies and the fae, and I remember speaking to my father when I was about 4 years old about, you know, I actually even have memories of being a baby actually in New Zealand, which is so uncommon, but I remember being like 6 months old. So I don't know. I'm just one of those people. But I remember explaining to him one time about like the universe, and I would be able to soundboard with him and he would understand because he was very spiritually gifted. He was actually a healer, and we lived in Australia for a period, and like people would call us to travel to them to heal people, or for my mum and my dad, but in particular my dad. And there was this girl that we went to. She was a teenage girl. I was about 6 years old, 5 or 6 years old, and she had been in a house fire a few years prior. And she had, you can feel my throat chakra already. And I remember her laying on this orange couch, and she had scars over like her whole body. And my father did a healing. He was never trained in anything, but people describe, when I describe my healing, kind of like Reiki, but they also kind of haven't seen it before. And he held his hands over her, and the way they described her healing was like an emotional healing. And I asked my parents and the people and the parents of this child if I could have a go at healing her. And they said absolutely. And I just held my hands over her, and her burns on her face disappeared. And from that moment, I was like, oh, okay, like this is really real. This isn't just something my father does or just something that like a very small amount of people do. I was like, we're all healers. Like that is the thing that I received in the moment, is that we're all healers. And I've always heard my guides. And I turned to religion in my late teenage years because I needed some help with some fucking boundaries, because I had so many entities and so many beings and so many shadows and so many things coming to me all the time. Like when I was a teenager, I was trying to go to sleep one night, and there was like 50 people in my room yelling at me, like talking to me. I physically could hear them with my ears, and I couldn't go to sleep. And I went to my mother and I was like, what the fuck do I do? And she's like, pray white light. And it didn't make them go away. Like it just took so fucking long. So then I entered into religion, and that helped me learn how to create boundaries and barriers. And then about a decade or so later, exited, and that's no longer my thing. I do have love and respect for it. My journey was fucking rough in the place that I went, and the kind of niche that I was in, but I am grateful for the experience, especially with the boundaries part.
I'm just here with you in the energy of this because I know it's massive and I can feel it very much. And it's just, I think people don't understand the gravity of what's possible with energy work and healers. And I kind of want to say this, but not in a way that is condescending or anything like that, but just an honoring way that it's very rare that you find parents that are already into this nature of and way of living, and to have that level of support around you and it to be acceptable and no judgment and invited to almost like come and pull up a seat, let's do this together, like without looking at like the side eye that I mentioned earlier. That is very rare. And I'm so grateful that you had that. I'm so grateful I'm grateful for all of us. Like I'm speaking on behalf of the collective right now, by the way, to say thank you to your parents and to you for their souls embodying that level of, understanding and acceptance. And really, because it takes a shit ton of courage to allow that to come through and to go out into the world when it probably wasn't even acceptable, or even understood. And to just fucking do the thing. Are your parents manifestors as well?
My mother's a generator. She's an emotional authority generator. My father was either a projector or a manifestor, but I can't get access to his time of birth. So I will never know. He also has a twin, and I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I certainly resonated with my father's gifts, that's for sure. And it was an incredible home to grow up in from that aspect. It was, especially being so different. Like, as I remember going to school, and I was telling my children just today about how when I was at school and 5 years old, I used to have conversations with the wind, like really deep conversations, not even the proper word, because you can't really put human words on this kind of experience, but it was like a conversation, like a mastermind, probably actually like a really deep connection with the wind. And I used to go back into class after lunchtime and be like, what the fuck am I doing here with these humans learning my ABCs? Like, I always felt very, very different, like very fucking different. Like I did not fit in because I saw like that's what I was describing to my father one time on the back of a four-wheeler. I said, it's like there's this world and stacked on top of it is another world that other people can't see. Like that's because I've always been able to see as well and engage with these other realms stacked on. It's like the exact same world, but it's just stacked on top of another one that no one else can see this or not, or few people can see this layer. And he understood that. And that was the biggest, like that was a very hallmark day for me for a parent to understand and validate my experience that I was having was like a huge blessing, like the biggest blessing.
Yeah. I'm just taking it all in. I'm just allowing all of this and allowing, just this conversation to be given the honoring that it deserves, and the respect. And from what I'm hearing is that your father has now passed away. Is that right? Yeah. So even that, just honoring him, I feel a strong masculine presence with us, like really strong, grounded, anchored presence. So I just want to honor that, and for him showing up, if that is him, I'm sure it is. So I just want to honor that and say thank you for him being here as well, and for you to share this story. I came from, like I used to see as well, and I shut everything down. And I was brought up in a Catholic background, and my gifts I ended up going onto a psych ward and being misdiagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. So I never had parents that truly understood or helped or supported me to almost like bring these gifts out. So it's always been a very independent solo journey for me. So to know that somebody else out there in the world, you, for instance, which I feel like we're family. So to know that somebody had that level of support to be able to do that. And now you're bringing this into the world and you're reaching the hearts of so many people with this gift. It's just like, I'm just fucking honored to be sat here with you. Like, honestly, this is a deep bow. I can feel the royalty, like, honestly, right now. I'm not trying to love bomb you, by the way. This is honestly, I'm humbled.
A few years ago, I would have said, "Oh no, 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 no!" But I receive your love and like you seeing me, like that's something I was so uncomfortable with it. Like I stood up on a stage in front of a few hundred people the other night at a school fundraising quiz night, and I was picked out and won like a best dress award. Thank you to my hat. And and like to have hundreds of people looking at me on a stage, like my mother was like, oh my God, she's going up, like, oh my God, she's doing it. And she was taking a video because she's like, I've never seen you stand, like she knows what I do, but like to stand up in front of that many people and be seen and be witnessed and like to allow my energy to like my barriers, right, to drop and actually be seen and my heart portal be felt by people and be witnessed by you is like it's a huge testament to the journey that I've been on and all the younger versions of me, like the other versions of me, like they're the ones who did the work. It's not me now. Like everyone always wants to go to their higher self and get the wisdom. The higher self doesn't know shit. She's the one who's just living out the beautiful stuff that we did in the past. Like the ones who are really gritty, the ones who are really wise are the past versions of us that have healed, that are doing the fucking work for us to have what we have now. It's like an inheritance from a family. Like, why would you? That's how it feels to me. Is like, it's an honoring of those younger versions of me, those older versions of me that reclaimed so much of herself that she can be standing here now with her heart so open and allow her frequency to be so fucking felt.
And I think that's the beautiful thing about manifestors is that our hearts are so big, and that's why it hurts so much when we're misunderstood, because it is misunderstanding, and it's not necessarily a conscious thing or a deliberate thing, but they, like, even if we were to pour our hearts out, people would still probably think, or not everybody, and I don't want to be general, we are misunderstood. We are so full of love, and that's literally one of the roles, my belief anyway, one of our roles is to open our heart centers to be all of who we are, because you can't be all of who you are if you don't have your heart wide open. It's just impossible.
You're exactly right. And the journey that we go on of being misunderstood enables us to be great leaders.
Yes.
Incredible leaders. The best leaders.
We're born leaders. I mean, we're born leaders. We just have to come into our own. We have to really harness the richness of all the different parts of ourselves and bless them as well. I think that's the other thing. Oh, well, I've dealt with that bit and we put it compartmentalize her and compartmentalize that aspect of ourselves. And we don't really bless them, we don't offer them grace, and that's the thing. I think we have to honor our journey to get to this point, to be able to open our hearts, to do the thing that you did, which stand on the stage in front of hundreds of people, which, by the way, this is just the fucking very beginning. You haven't even scratched the surface. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm just preparing you all. I'm warming you up for the global takeover. We'll start here. And that's the other thing as well, as being a manifestor. I heard you say this on Instagram. By the way, everybody go and check her out on Instagram. This is where she hangs out the most. I'm saying she, sorry. Talking about how we make ourselves small because we're afraid of how other people will accept us, will receive us and perceive us. We're concerned about how they might judge us or shame us or criticize us and feel like they're not ready for us. When one of the things that I've learned as a manifestor is that we have to follow those urges. And when the urge is like, okay, it's fucking go time, that's when everybody is ready. And actually not like ready is a fucking lie anyway. Nobody's ever going to be ready for anything. But it's actually, that's the nuance, is that something needs to be birthed now because someone somewhere is ready. And that's why you need to go now. But we hold ourselves back thinking, oh, we can't do it because they're not ready. They're going to be scared. And then we scare ourselves. And it's almost like this dance.
The thing, so what I want to say, I just want to preface everything I've said and everything I'm about to say as well, that when you're listening and if you're resonating, whether you are an emotional authority or whether you're not, or whether you're a manifestor or a managing, if you're resonating with what we are saying, it's because our story and our wisdom is activating a part of you that already is within you, right? Because there's so many nuances within human design, and there's projector gates, and there's so many things, right? So don't think you're less than, like you're in the perfect fucking place. You wouldn't be here listening to this if you weren't meant to need it. And I forgot what you said now, what I was going to say next.
That's because you were too busy fucking caring about everybody else and prefacing what you were about to say, dropping the truth bombs.
I want my generators to feel included in this conversation, because like what I've noticed as a manifestor is, like, I can speak about being a manifestor, but for anybody who's new to human design, you also need to know that, like, the way I describe the mechanics of human design is, and like with my clients, right, and within business and within the world, is we get to take, it's like an imprinting, right, or two bits of paper that glues together. And as a manifestor, we're like the first domino, right? And then so we're all part of the same story. We're all part of the same stream of consciousness. But as a manifestor, that's what I was going to say. As a manifestor, we have to go first and we have to flick the first domino. But also, if the world isn't ready, it's actually because we haven't done it yet. Because it's like the Schrodinger's cat, like it exists and it also, like, that it's alive and it's dead at the same time. And it's not until we make the move that the realm actually opens up. And so for all of us, we can feel so fucking alone when we haven't initiated an idea, some divine idea that's come through, right? Or some through this way, or up through the earth, or through our lived experience, which is our 3D, like our bottom chakras, our lived experience. Until we have birthed it and started birthing it, it doesn't even exist yet. Nobody is ever going to be ready because we haven't started the process yet. And it's like this big human lie of like, Everyone needs to be ready. Bullshit, bitch. No one is ready until you've made the move. No, it's like the way I see it is no one even knows anything exists. And then I speak, and then they're like, oh, wait. And the whole paradigm opens because we haven't even gone into that realm yet. Like, you have to open it up. You have to act. You have to follow these urges and follow the wisdom from there and down below coming up. We have to act. And following those urges, following our authority, following our wisdom will precipitate the most incredible, batshit crazy life and impact for us and the world.
Boom. Mic drop. I want to add something, and that is that I think for me personally, I know that I've always thought, well, I can't share this now because another manifestor has had the same idea, or somebody else has had the same idea. It's not even just about manifestors right now. This is about everybody. The thing is that we have to remember that what we're here to deliver is so unique to us that it doesn't matter if 100,000 people have done what you've already done. Your frequency is the thing that's what is needed.
That's right.
Your frequency. That's it.
I have like...
Go on. Sorry.
No, you... You're right. You're right, though. Your frequency, because I can share a story about my childhood and you might have had very similar events, or we can go to we can go to a concert, right? And I can share about my experience, and we can be sitting right next to each other, and the people who receive the story would get a very different feeling and a very different play in their mind as to how it went when I describe it versus you describe it, right? We went to the exact same concert and we're sitting right next to each other, right? And not only that, I think there's a lot of like scarcity of energy within those frequencies when we're worried about sharing what somebody else has already shared. And like, this is what my guides have always told me anyway, that when we're thinking that, it's always about what's underneath. It's always about what's underneath. Underneath that is really a thought or a belief or a limiting belief, however we want to word it, or a shadow that we are like, that's our best work. And there's never going to be anything else. And there's never going to be anything better. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, bitch. Since when have you only had one idea?
Exactly. Ideas are 10 a penny. And it's that, or that it's not going to be good enough. Like, oh, if somebody else is doing it, then it's not, my version of this thing is not going to be good enough. So fear of inadequacy and like worthiness, and put a label on it, whatever you want to call it. Mm. And yeah, but it holds so many people back from just taking action. Like, you would not have a fucking idea right now to do the damn thing if you weren't meant to do the damn thing. Like, you get to pick and choose what you want to do. But if you're experiencing something so viscerally and it won't fucking leave you alone, like in the mind, in the thoughts, in the body, like all of the things, you need to just fucking do it. You just need to do it.
Mm. Because, you know, of course we're here to serve other people, but if we are always filtering what we are going to do or what we're going to say or what we're going to launch or what we're going to share based on how somebody else is going to receive it, whether that's another manifestor or whether that's someone else who's seen the same message 50,000 times, what have you done? You've put your permission slip, your validation, your whether this is okay, into somebody else's hand. That is not the job of a manifestor or a leader. A leader follows their own internal, I call it Codex, which is a mixture of your human design, your desires, your lifestyle, and your vocation. Your unique Codex and your unique frequency will call you and initiate you into sharing things. And as you share, what happens? We heal past versions of ourselves. We gain more clarity of ourselves. We follow our own soul mission because we needed to share that anyway. Like, it's not always about other people. Like, what if this is really just about you? If you were the only person on the planet, what would you be sharing? Or if you were the only leader on the planet, what would you be sharing? Like, we need to reframe it so that we don't have all of these cock blocks in the way. Like, what the fuck is the point? Like, what a pointless worry that used to hold us back, right? Because, like, there are a lot of coaches, there are a lot of spiritual leaders, there are a lot of healers, and that's a good fucking thing. We need more. Like, there's not even enough. So even if we were to share every single thing with no filter around like whether it was good enough or not, or whether it's been said 100,000 times. It still needed to be said, and there still needs to be tenfold more people sharing about it.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head there. And it's interesting that that came through for me yesterday, is that we spend so much of our time, especially in the spiritual community. And I've worked with so many leaders. Well, they say they're leaders, but they're actually not fucking leading as powerfully as they could be, which is why they come to me, right? And you. But it's like we're constantly making it about everybody else. Like how can we allow ourselves to make it about us and then move from that space? How can we allow ourselves to be moved by whatever the fuck is coming through, and we get to alchemize whatever it needs to be alchemized through that action, because it doesn't always require us to go through a fucking story and an excavation and all the things, and just do the thing and lead, because that's leading. You have to lead yourself first before you can even think about leading anybody else.
And this is the reason why I see all of these patterns. Like in my human design, I have a lot of gates that's all about like pattern recognition. And one of the patterns that I see is the pattern, like the definition of entrepreneur is, in my language, creating something from fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Right? You're putting your ass on the line with no guarantee that anything's ever going to happen. Right? And it's the same for being a leader. There is no guarantee that anybody's ever going to get on a train. There is no guarantee anyone's ever going to buy anything that I put out. And yet, why do I do it? Because I love the thrill of the chase, because I have an entrepreneurial spirit, because I follow my own codex and my own clarity. And ultimately, I have so much fucking trust and faith and evidence now at this point, obviously, that me doing me, boo, helps you do you, boo. Yes. And then you do you, boo, helps 100,000 other people you do you, boos, right? Like, and that, like, for me personally, because of the conditioning and because of what I went through, that's what I want for the planet. Like, me personally, I want the planet to you do, boo. Like, everyone does how they want to. Everybody has so much sovereignty, so much validation, so much clarity within themselves and their codex and their desires and their lifestyle, like that they are so relentless in chasing what it is that they desire in the way that they desire to do it.
And we've kind of come full circle, because what I'm going to share is that there's so much marketing and content out there saying that you get to own a business and make a shit ton of money being exactly who you are, but use this blueprint and use this template and use my cookie cutter strategy and use this because this is going to help you to get there quicker. No, you connecting with your codex, running shit through your own body, through your own intuition, that's how you're going to get there. And that's how you get to be all of who you are and earn a shit ton of money. That's how you get to lead powerfully, and how you it's literally that domino effect.
Absolutely. Like I always say with my clients, I'm always like, especially in my mastermind, I say it probably twice a month. I'm saying, this is my advice, or this is what's coming through. This is what I've seen, but filter it through your codex, filter it through your authority, because like, without that filter system of our own wisdom and our own gates and our own authority and our own sovereignty, we're just going to become another copy-paste version of this wounded version of us who is a people pleaser to begin with. So what the fuck is the point? Like this, we have come too far in this world to give away our fucking sovereignty ever again. And if we do, that's okay. You just pick it the fuck back up, because you're going to end up back in the same situation and relearning the same lessons that were so fucking painful for you a decade ago, you know?
Yeah. Which is why, for me, personally, I'm not a human design expert. I've never done a human design course ever. I've studied and researched the design types. I'm not over familiar with like the gates and things like that, or the channels or anything like that. But I make it an absolute priority that I find out if I'm working intimately with somebody in high proximity, I make it a priority to find out what their human design is, so that I know what they need, like whether they need spaciousness, or whether they need to be invited, or whether they need me to give them a kick up the arse, or whether they're emotional. It's going to take them 65 days to work through their emotional wave, which they're obviously not, you know. but to learn more about the person that sat in front of me, because human design had such a huge impact on my own life, I love to learn more about who I'm working with. And that really gives me a good understanding, because sometimes a lot of the people that I work with, I have no idea about human design. And so when I start to kind of bring the knowledge that I do have to them, then they go off and do their own research. And it's like, that's opening doorways for them as well. Like, it's just bringing that awareness and that information to them. And who knows, maybe I will do like a course or something further down the line, but it's like, that's not my thing. Like, this is my zone of genius, is being here, like the way that I am. Your zone of genius is the galactic human design magnificence. So, I'm standing in my own fucking lane, but I'm also just weaving the little pieces of information to give my clients the awareness. And I think it's important. Like, if you're going to do this work, then learn about your human design, learn about your gene keys, learn about your astrology. By the way, I've got Capricorn in my chart as well. Of course.
What is it? Do you know what it is?
5th house moon.
Oh, okay. Very nice. I like. Okay. I always resonate with Capricorn. Like, always resonate with them. I just dig it so hard.
Yeah.
I've got 5 things in Capricorn. So I like I've got, and in my first house, like I've got a lot going on in the Capricorn realm. So yeah.
Nice. That's good. I think that's really good. I think that like it's there's no good or bad here, by the way, but it's just to have that groundedness. You are the goat.
Literally.
Literally.
That's a sheep, probably.
So I'm really curious to learn if you have any advice or suggestion and maybe you could share your kind of the way that you like to invest as well. Hiring mentors, healers, consultants for your business and lifestyle. What are some of the key qualities that you would look for in the person that you're about to invest in? And I think that this is going to be such a powerful thing for other people to hear as well, so that they can not necessarily use your rules or anything like that, but to understand that they should also be filtering that shit through their own codex as well, and not be taken in by the next shiny object. So what are your thoughts around that? Tell me all of the things.
This might not be the answer actually you had prepared for, maybe. I've learned a lot about investing. We all do, right? We learn a lot about investing in ourselves. And even when situations were not perfect, no situation is perfect. Or rather, when I desired to leave a container early because I was being made small and the person wasn't big enough to hold me, right? Like I've experienced that a lot. I still took it as a lesson. Like, I don't have any animosity towards the person. I had paid in full and would never. I'm the sort of person who would never ask for a refund, because I got everything that I needed to from that container, the good and the perceived bad, because they're all lessons. And the thing I've noticed inside my containers is my clients always say to me, like, it's outstanding, no, overbearing almost, how much I hear this about how much permission they have to be themselves in the container and show up in the way that they want to, and how much of a big space that I hold, and how they have so much to not just calibrate to, but they have so much space to move around in, if that makes sense, just because my energy field is so fucking big, and my wisdom and my lived experience is also so fucking big. So anyway, on the journey of investing in myself, what I used to do was I used to try and find the perfect person for everything. And what I learned was that's probably not going to happen, because I am so gifted and I do so many amazing things. You kind of get to a point where you kind of just need to, or at least in my experience, I needed to niche out and hire someone for spiritual stuff, or for family things, or for my sexual healing, right, for the sexual trauma that I'd been through, or for business, or for marketing, or my voice, or fame. Do you know what I mean? Like, or astrology, or human design. And that's how I have personally found a lot of success, is removing the expectations that I had out of what I was going to get out of containers. Sorry, my cat is just scratching the couch. And removing the expectations out of what now you've come to this couch. No, thank you. Thank you. Expectations out of what I want to get out of a container. And as I enter into a container and as I choose to invest, what I ask myself is, am I going to find more of myself through this investment? Because me personally, I notice a lot of marketing that is very much centered around like pain points or around like, this is your problem and I can fix you. And for me personally, that always felt very disempowering. Like it never felt great to me in those kind of containers. So I was always looking for somebody who was so fucking big and so in their lane and also really grounded in who they are, that I'm not going to change them either, because I didn't want a coach or a mentor who would question themselves based on the questions that I asked, because I have experienced that before. So for me, it's more about like, I look at their sovereignty. Like that is what I'm looking at. That is the top priority for me. It's not money. It's not fame. It's not the followers. It's not anything. It's sovereignty, because that's the season that I'm in, that I'm searching for, is more sovereignty, more of myself, and somebody being able to hold that bigger container for themselves and then for me. So that's me personally. What about yourself? Did you anticipate that?
I actually, I think that we make investments in a very similar way. So I have also left containers where I've paid in full and I've just decided, okay, I've got everything that I need and I no longer need to be here anymore, or I no longer wish to immerse myself in this or something else. I'm kind of moving in another direction. I've also been in containers where I've actually experienced a level of abuse. And I've also been in containers where, you know, my beingness has activated, which has obviously created the abuse and stuff like that. So I always, regardless of where I invest, I always know that I'm making the right decision at that time for what it is that I need. And I always take the gifts from everything that I put myself in. Any environment it is, I'm always making decisions based on my intuition, based on, like, sometimes I've made investments with people where I've seen them on Instagram. I've never listened to any of their stories or not even read their content, and I need to work with you. And it would have been for business, it would have been for sexual healing. I too have experienced the same, similar. It would have been for nervous system work, or I would just know I need to work with this bitch, I need to work with that one. And I just put myself, regardless of what they're doing, regardless of what they're selling, I would just know that I'm supposed to be in that space. And whatever experience I gain, because it's a gaining, I'm always going to have more of myself. More of myself is always going to come online through that experience, regardless of whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. More of myself is going to get activated, and I'm going to meet more of myself in that space. So that's how I like to make investments. I also like to be a little bit more mindful and discerning around, like, does this person have a level of consciousness that is going to meet my level of consciousness or expand it in some way? Like you said, the sovereignty, that's what I'm looking for, because I am a big energy too. So I need somebody who's done the work, who knows, like, that might be a little bit more further ahead in terms of energetic mastery and hygiene and stuff like that I can learn from, that's going to help me to expand. So yeah, that was a long answer. That's how I love to make investments. I just know. And then I, like, rather than, because it's so easy to come away from an investment that didn't necessarily meet your expectations and come away and start pointing the finger and blaming and then like slagging people off behind their backs and she did this and she did that. Like, I was in an experience with a mentor recently, it's over a year ago now, where I was ejected from that space. And so it activated some really core fucking rejection wounds. I didn't turn around and start bitching about this person. I didn't start sharing shit on social media or talking about this person whatsoever. And I never would name names ever. But it's like, what do you do in that experience? You alchemize it. You learn, you see what the gifts are. You come out from it, and then you can teach from that space as well. That's what fucking leaders do. They go into all of these spaces and they learn they take what is resonant and disregard the rest, regardless of whether it was a duff investment or maybe not a great one. So yeah.
I love that you brought this up. Firstly, I just want to honor your human and the experience that she has been through, and also her radical permission that you've given yourself to own the experience and to take the gifts from it, and to also feel the feels, because I also trust in feeling that you also allowed yourself to feel the feelings that came through from that experience.
Fuck yeah. I mean, what's the point?
Like there's no, like, just to say, like, I don't think people should bypass.
No,
you know, shit comes up, right?
not.
I'm not preaching that in any way, shape, or fucking form. And that I'm really glad you brought this up, because, you know, one of the things that a shadow I see in this, I hate to say like a coaching industry, but in this world that we are in, that is like, because we are soul-led entrepreneurs and because our heart is so open, when our expectations aren't met, or when trauma happens, or when things happen, we take it so personally and so to heart. And also, there is a frequency or a truth available that this is business.
Fucking
Stuff
yes.
happens
Exactly.
in business.
Yes.
Like our first business we started, the first job we did, we bought a tractor, and we were agricultural contractor. And the first bill we ever sent out was 5,000 New Zealand dollars, and the farmer never paid. That was shitloads to us. Like, there was $100,000 to buy this gear. So, like, that was a fuck ton to us, and we never got paid. And for me, I was like, you know, from those experiences, I'm like, it's part of business. Bad debts are part of business. Bad experiences, bad customers, bad mentors, bad advice. We would manipulated so intensely in business by people who were our mentors and our stakeholders for a very long time. And yet that's part of business. It's part of part of life. And so now, like, oh, sorry, you go. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I agree with you 1,000%. And I have noticed this with, it doesn't matter how much money you're fucking earning, there are still people like so emotionally attached to their businesses, so emotionally attached to money and what money means for them. So even if they're earning 7-8 figures, they're so emotionally attached that they're actually not fucking taking the action that they know that they should be taking, because they don't want to feel the things. But what you're saying is like, it is business. And sometimes you have to just fucking put your big girl pants on and do the damn thing.
Yeah. You put your business hat on instead of like the feeling empath that you are. Like, it's an experience. And it's like, you know, do you still want to get up tomorrow and be a business owner or not? And if you don't, then, okay, exit the building. And if you do, fucking get up and get dressed. Like, keep on going, bitch. You know, like, and it's just, you know, I know there's a lot of weight put on investing in yourselves. And I know it's a lot of money that we invest in ourselves. And I know that I have made a lot of money, and there's a certain lens that I'm now filtering this through, because I am in a different situation than I was. But also, I think the whole point of this and investing in ourselves is for it to not be such a big deal anymore. Because while it's still a big deal, money has such a hold over us still. And, you know, I think, at least in my journey, that I was meant to like go above and beyond the limitation of what a dollar sign means. And I did learn through investing in myself, you know, 6 figures. Of course, in the beginning, it was 3 figures or 4 figures, right? And that was more scary than 6 figures is for me now, right?
Yes.
And now it doesn't have to have a hold over us, because we have the perspective that this is business. We have the perspective that no matter what happens, it's for our highest timeline. We are so grounded and healed within ourselves that we are not afraid of feeling an emotion. So when things don't go perfectly, or when things are difficult, or when a call's rescheduled, like, you were so gracious, you guys. This podcast was rescheduled twice before we were on this call, because I got a flu, like the longest flu that I have ever experienced. And Sinead was so fucking gracious with me and my team as we were navigating, like so fucking gracious. And that is the hallmark of a leader. we can honor somebody else's experience while not making it about us, because I was just literally going through shit and she didn't make it about herself. She wasn't thinking like, oh, Gary doesn't want to be on my podcast anymore, or it's not working out, or like you just saw it for what it is, and we rescheduled, and here the fuck we are. I needed a massive upgrade energetically and physically before I was able to come on this podcast, obviously, because it was a massive initiation. So I'm thanking all of you and the collective and you, Sinead, for having this podcast, because it's like the fact that I had to go through that before. I've never had that before a podcast, like never, ever. So thank you for the initiation. But anyway, that was a side tangent on the money and investing, and not sure what else I want to say about that. We just went on the side tangent.
Thank you. And yeah, you're absolutely right. In the beginning, investing 3, 4, 5 figures, especially around the 4-figure mark, between 5 and 10K, that's the sweet spot of fear that I found. Beyond that, it's just, oh, fuck it. It's just money. Like, just take the money. And because money is the portal, like literally the minute that you, because it's energy, it's always energy. So you're literally taking some of your own internal energy and say, I'm putting all of this into myself. So you're actually investing in yourself anyway. But it's almost like it puts you on that high-speed train you were talking about earlier on. The minute you say yes, and almost like invest even more, because it means that you're willing to gamble on yourself, because that's what you're doing. And you're saying, yeah, fuck it, I'm doing this. That's it. You're off. You're taking off into the next wherever else. And it can happen really fucking quickly. I mean, with my clients, it happens almost instantly. Like, it happens even before the contract is signed or the money's gone into my account. Like, it's done. And I mean, thank you for sharing and reflecting your thoughts around my level of leadership and, you know, having to postpone the podcast and everything like that. I mean, like, it's just life, man. I know of people that are up their own fucking asses that would make it all about that. How very dare you cancel me twice, thrice? Like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, this is my time and my energy, and like, seriously, get the fuck out of your own ass, man, and just leader up. Okay, this is life. This is human shit as well that we have to consider. And this podcast is about the collective. It's like, I waited 2 years for this, to birth this podcast. This is a massive urge for me. And so the intention was always to take this to the next fucking dimension. And it's a co-creation. And so if you're invited onto this podcast, you will go through an initiation regardless of who you are. But obviously, you and I are both on the kind of same vibe. We're on the same fucking train, let's just say that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. 2 trains on the same track. There you
exactly.
go.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, people should be warned if they are invited onto this podcast. They will go through initiation before. So make sure you look after your human prior.
Yeah. Mind the gap.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be either before, during, or after, or any conversation that you have with me at any point. Just be prepared.
Yeah, like, you know, I have one program in particular called Money Manifestation Mastery that when I ran it live, it was 7 days in a row. And my clients needed like a 2-month break afterwards. Like, it was just, it's such an initiation, like it's such deepness. And so, like, you know, I have this all the time, clients say all the time, like, working with a manifestor is intense, and there is so much that's being activated subconsciously and consciously, and there's just a lot to integrate for the human, which is amazing. It's the whole fucking point of working with us and being in our sphere and listening to our podcast, right? Is for you to go away and integrate that into your life in order for you to be more of a sovereign being. And the other one thing I wanted to say when you're saying about investing in other people was, I've always felt the exact same thing when I'm investing. it's into myself. Like my husband didn't get it for a really, really long time. He's like, why are you paying this person 100 grand? Like he just didn't. I didn't even tell him about the first time I invested in myself because I knew he would flip his shit. Like I knew it. I knew it. And it wasn't until he saw the credit card statement, you know, like 6 weeks later that he was like, what the fuck? But for me, like I'm healing so many layers within myself every time I invest in myself. Like my nine. So I'm Welsh. My nanny, which is my mother's mother, my Welsh grandma, she was never given money, and she used to hide some of the egg money from my tidy, my Welsh grandfather, so she could buy shoes for her children, new shoes for her children with proper soles. And you know, she never had money. And so for me, I'm healing my own lineage when I choose to spend money on myself and invest into myself. It's not for anyone else. It's not for business. Of course, it will flow into business. Of course, it will flow into my relationships. Of course, it will flow into me as a parent and me as a leader and me for my clients and me for my marketing. But really, this is for me. I am hiring this support because I want it for me. And that is the most selfish yet selfless act, is for us to choose ourselves no matter what the external voices, right? Or internal voices, either. Like the investment, the act of investing in ourselves is so sacred, like the most sacred thing. And that's the reason why I still offer it within my business, is because A, I love it. And B, because of the sacred walk and the portal that it opens, like, oh, it's just the most glorious, delicious thing, because my clients aren't like wanting to get a certain thing from me. They're not like walking in being like, I have to make $10,000 or I have to have XYZ. They're walking into a container wanting more of themselves. Like, that is the most joyful fucking thing that I could ever do. Like, the most joyful work for me, because it's a fucking given that they're gonna get it, because it's just who I am, and it's what I've mastered, and it's what I'm good at, and it's how I see the patterns, and it's just a full circle, because that's also how I like to invest. That's the reason why I invest like that. It's because that is what I love to receive, and so that's the space that I hold for my clients as well.
And honestly, I think that this probably deserves an entire episode in and of itself, because I think we really need to break that down, because so many people are investing from a disempowered and wounded space, and they are being taken in by the shiny objects and the lights and the promises of 100K months and things like that. And they're actually doing it from a really disempowered place. They're doing it from a space of, this person is going to get me X, Y, Z and result. And they're attaching, I'm speaking from my own experience as well here, obviously, attaching to the other person. And then when it doesn't happen in the timeline that they want it to happen, whatever it is, whether it's 100K month or a brand new pair of shoes or whatever, it doesn't really matter. When it's not happening how they expect it to, they make it mean something about them and the investment. And it comes back to that cycle of blame and judgment and all of the things. And so I think that this conversation needs to be had more and more, especially in this space, because making an investment, this is the other thing, is that so many people make an investment when things are going fucking shit, when there is a problem, versus how can I make an investment from a space of, I just want to fucking do this to meet more of myself, because I want to command more of myself and, you know, enjoy life and all of these things, and kind of from a space of joy and creation and solution, versus I've got a problem that needs to be fixed, which is why the pain point marketing doesn't work. I mean, it does, and it has, but it's like fading out massively, because people are still paying and investing from pain. And they're also not like, they're more likely to invest in their business. There's still a disconnect. Like, I'm going to invest a shit ton of money in my business, but I won't invest a shit ton of money in myself. It's connected, but not everybody, but a lot of people are still seeing it in separation. They're still not seeing that they're worthy to receive. They're still not seeing that, you know, they get to invest in themselves just as much as they get to invest in the business, especially in the spiritual community, because we came here with a big fuck off mission, right? So we're constantly going, okay, I'm going to do this because it's going to make me help me help more people so that I can serve more people. And we're making it all about other people again. So we really have to come back into, I want to do this because I like this bitch and I love what she's about and I love her values and I love what she's talking about. And I just want to be in her world because I want to see how much I can facilitate within myself in her space. So I went on a whole fucking TED talk there, but I'm really passionate about this stuff.
I I agree so much. And there's something my guide said to me is like to be very fucking aware. This was like when I was asking them about marketing. They said to me, the energy in which you make the decision creates the world.
Yes.
And so if we are sharing, even if it's not marketing, even if it's like just the context of our content or what we share, like there's so many things like this. I remember at high school studying a movie, and it's like the zoom in video makes it feel intimate, and the sound makes you, like the horror movies, they always have a specific sound, right? All the TikToks, like with the yo ho, like like in the seas, like it's like, oh, scary, choppy, are we gonna die? There's so many subliminal messages that we are always sharing. And so my guide said to me like 2 or 3 years ago, your energy in which you make the decision creates the world. So if you want your clients to walk in empowered boss ass bitches, and they aren't like trying to grab shit from you, they're not like succubuses trying to just suck the life out of you. If you want them to walk in as sovereign beings, and you are going to amplify what they already have and help them get clarity, because that's my specific gift, and that's what's really effortless for me, is to help my clients find clarity within themselves and meet more of themselves. And it filters through into so many different layers, right? Into money, into marketing, into business, whatever, into themselves, into their relationships, into their parenting. Then you need to share the context correctly with your marketing, with your social media. And because I saw this pattern where the clients who DM'd me and had a shitload of questions first, they were the ones who were the most codependent inside the containers.
Yes.
And that never felt great to me. I have lived in a codependent relationship, and that was shit. Like a romantic relationship, right? Like that was horrible, like absolutely horrible. And I will never go back there for love nor money. So once I made that shift in my marketing, right, in my messaging and my context, that is when I started calling in the people that were right for me at that phase. And that is the people that are right for me at that phase now. And that's really beautiful. But not everyone wants that. Some people want to have clients who want to hire them kind of for more accountability or something. That's a completely different energy. I don't want to be an accountability. I will never be an accountability coach, like,
Same.
because I never want to be accountable to somebody else. I want to be accountable to myself. And it's like, when we market the way we like to buy, that is when we feel the most integrity with our offers.
Yeah.
And that is when, firstly, the right clients come into it. And secondly, our humans not freaking out about a whole lot of shit, about the price point or about the offer, about how long it takes, or, how long it took us to do this, or whether it's like somebody else's thing. Our human is not going off with alarm bells, because we are in integrity with how we like to buy. It's like the simplest fucking solution is, what is it again? You do you, boo.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
The simplest solution is to be so in integrity with who you are and what has really helped you on this journey, and make that the context.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. And I love that you've shared that. And I think that's the thing. And it's about getting on board with that decision and just keep deciding. And it's almost like going on this journey where there's the human shit is going to come up regardless. But it's, how can I come back to center? How can I come back to me? How can I come back to what do I fucking really want to do? Like, what is the things that's going to light me the fuck up, and follow that? What is the excitement that I'm feeling, and decide there and then that that's what you're going to do. And when you do, you won't get that wavering, the codependency or the questions or the objections or anything like that, because it's a mirror. You're literally receiving what's happening on the inside. So if you're getting objections from people in your spaces, it's because you're not 100% certain in what it is that you're doing, period.
Yeah.
So as soon as you decide that you're going to do the only thing that you're going to do in your business is the thing that lights you the fuck up the most, and be all of who you are in your offerings, you watch. You fucking watch.
And it's the thing, like for me, being a deeply committed person, if the pattern I'm always seeing is like, where are people not honoring themselves? Because when they're not, they can't do it long term.
Yes.
And the keys to long-term success, as my guide said to me years ago, is don't stop going and don't stop growing. So if something is not sustainable for us, like long-term, and obviously we grow and evolve, on the journey, and that's fine. But if it's not sustainable to us long-term, there is no point in doing it now. There's simply not.
Well, if it's not sustainable for us long term, then whatever's not, it'll get ripped away. Like there'll come a point where, like, I've had to do this myself, get rid of all the clients, like literally scrap everything and start again. I've been to the point of 0 where I've gone, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. This doesn't feel good. This is not bringing me joy. I'm starting again. And I've been at a space where I'm like, well, I don't know where the next penny's coming in. I don't know, like, because my business isn't set up that way yet. So I'm always been reliant on one-to-one clients. And so I'm kind of shifting that now, because that's going to create more freedom for me as well. But I've got to the point where I've literally don't know when the next penny's coming in. So it's literally, okay, I have to do there's no fucking plan B for me. There never has been. So it's like, no, I just have to I know that this is not the end. I know this is not the end. I'm not doing anything else other than keep showing up, keep doing what I'm doing, knowing that this is 100% working. And of course it works. It happens. Like there is no other fucking way.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a testament to the manifestor, honestly, because we will be showing, time and time again, limitations. The world will have us believe, or other people will have us believe, or other energies will have us believe, or our own human self will have us believe, oh, it's dried up now, or, it worked for so long, or it really wasn't working that well because you need to rest, because a manifestor, we need rest, right? We
That's
go
the
through
other thing, yeah.
urges. And so, coming the shadow of being not in an urge is we think that it's never going to work again. But actually, as a manifestor, we are here to create again and again and again and again, which is the reason why I personally, I loved labor, pregnancy and labor. Like I would have a billion babies if I didn't have to raise them all. I fucking love it so much, honestly. And the reason why is because I want to create, I want to birth again and again and again and again. I want to create again and again and again. New life, new codes, new impact, right? And so as a manifestor, the journey is to heal that wound of the rest and the recreating again.
And I think it's really important to know and to mention here, because as someone who had a very traumatic birth, giving birth to my daughter, and I say this to my clients as well, is that when it comes to launching something new, when it comes to new ideas, when it comes to that birthing process in the business, you really need to look at how was your own birth and how were the births of your children. Like literally go back to the beginning, look at how you've created life, because this is what's happening in a soul-led business, is you're creating life. Well, in any business, really, it's new life. It's a new consciousness. Right. So you need to really understand what you were experiencing. I'm my womb space right now is going, I can hear you talking about me. I can feel it.
Mine's like, you're going to have another baby? More babies? More babies? Let's have more babies.
So I think it's just important to note that if you have no concept, or if you've not even gone to that part of your story, please do, because this is going to impact how much money you create in your business as well. And it's also going to impact like how you launch and how you bring new offers into the world. Look at your story. Connect with what happened, what you were experiencing, how it felt. The fact that it brought you so much joy is amazing. So I've had to repair a lot of stuff because there was a lot of rupture. I nearly died during childbirth. So like me, and then obviously the generated conditioning of no rest and not feeling good enough to rest and all of the other shit. So I've gone on this huge like deconditioning journey to really understand, okay, this is when I get to show up, and can I allow myself to rest in these moments, even if there's any money coming in? Can I still allow myself to rest? And actually, yes, exactly. That's exactly what you should be doing, being actually, because it's in the being that we create. You're nodding.
Yes. I don't know if a word is needed after that.
Talking of children, it is now 10 to 8 in the morning here, and I really don't want to end this episode, but I do have to take my child to school. It's her last day today of her school, so she starts a new school in August. So it's kind of a big deal.
Oh, but it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. She's 12
Wow.
and she's going to be starting big school. So yeah, it's fun. But I'd really love to have you and invite you back on at some point.
Yes.
No initiation required the next time.
No. Yeah. We have calibration. I'm ready.
We have calibrate. This has been so much fun.
It has. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for having me. And for everyone listening, I can feel all the energy, and it's beautiful to have this two-way impartation and to feel the energy. And like my cheeks always go really warm when I'm feeling and sensing a lot of energy that's being flowing back and forward. So yeah, thank you for inviting me and thank you for having me. And it was great to share space and time with you all.
It was amazing. Thank you for listening, everyone. Oh, and by the way, everything that you need to know about Angharad is down below in the show notes. Is there anything that you want to share? Anything, any parting words, anything about any offerings that you've got coming up?
I mean, to keep up to date with what I've got going on, my Instagram or my website or my email list is kind of the best place to come and hang out and see what's going on at the time because I'm always creating different things. But for closing words, I would say as you walk away from completing this episode, expect big shifts, expect big changes, and support your human in the way that they need to be able to integrate and be able to act in a different way because you will never be the same again. Like this will be a moment in time that you will look back on and be like, oh shit, right. Like that's a story like I shared about my father understanding me or yeah, my father understanding me, that you are understood, especially if you're a manifestor listening to this. But for all of you listening, like two manifestors in one space activating you, like you're not even gonna know what to do with yourself. So enjoy
Welcome
and
to the
allow yourself,
party.
yeah, allow yourself to ride the wave of activation and integration from this.
Thank you, darling. It's been an absolute honor.
Ditto.